Welcome, listeners and viewers, to another episode of the Atlanta REALTORS Association Real Estate Rundown, the #1 podcast for realtors in Georgia. I'm your host, Carolyn Garrett, so you never miss one of our great interviews, content, and conversations with the best in the real estate industry. Go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you are subscribed, thank you for being with us again. I'd like to take the opportunity now to introduce our guest for today, Todd Tucker. Todd is the Executive Vice President and qualifying broker for his company. And on this episode, we're going to take a deep dive, pull back the curtain, and go behind the scenes about what a qualifying broker does and how vital their role is. If you've ever had questions, today you're going to get all the answers. Full disclosure to everyone who's listening, Todd is my qualifying broker, and I know exactly how hard he works. Todd, you've had a rather storied career in real estate. It started in 1977. That would be me, guys. 1997. Rumor has it you followed a girl from Athens to Atlanta. Tell us how it all began and your evolution in becoming a qualifying broker.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be part of the podcast today. But storied, quite interesting story, but I grew up in Lake Hartwell. I went to the University of Georgia. I took my real estate course at the University of Georgia. They had a night course that you could take there at the request of one of our family friends. And he said, hey, you can get into real estate. You could sell a few houses during the summer on the lake and it will be fun. So I said, okay, got my real estate license. After graduating UGA, my plan was to go to law school, be a judge. I always wanted to be a judge. But my wife now is a school teacher, and so she started her job in Cobb County in 1997. And I said, hey, I'll go to Atlanta, give it real estate a try. And so almost 30 years later, I've had a lot of great stories and intel in the real estate market in Atlanta, but started right in Cobb County.
Awesome. Before we begin with the behind-the-scenes look of being the qualifying broker, you also have some serious chops when it comes to industry leadership. Would you share with us just what you have done and how you feel that part of leadership has been important to you?
Thank you for that question. Leadership, I think, is very important. And some of the things that I've done, I think, for any new agent in the business or getting in the business, I would say get involved first and foremost. I got involved right out of the gate with the Cobb Association of Realtors, later with West Georgia, and then later with Atlanta. But I think getting involved helped me meet people, learn about the industry. I was the president of the Cobb Realtors. I was president of West Georgia. I went on in the state level and was the regional director for GAR. I sat on the executive committee. And then I came to a point in my life where I was going to continue on. And, I thought about being president of GAR at one time too, but my kids were small at the time. So I decided, well, I just want to take a sabbatical from that. I want to be present for them and my family. So I did kind of walk away from the GAR leadership piece. And now that they're grown, they're almost 17 and 18, you might see me at another Georgia Realtor conference. But being involved, I think, is very important.
Well, thank you for your service, and thank you for your willingness to serve and your willingness to want to step back into the game.
Sure.
There's always that eternal, how do we find balance and harmony between work and our personal lives? So, listeners, now it's time for the good stuff. Todd, you described your pathway for us. What changed at each stage in your evolution from agent to qualifying broker? And what surprised you about yourself in your growth along the way?
Changes and growth, I think, are inevitable, right? So you have to embrace it. I think I'm always consider myself a constant learner in everything that I do, from a sales associate to an assistant broker to a broker to a trainer to our VP of operations to now our qualifying broker, and all the different hats. I think it makes you, everything that you've done in your past have prepared you for who you are today. So I think what I've done from sales agent to where I am today, I can relate really well to the sales associates because I kind of know what they're going through. They're having challenges with a contract, with an issue, with compliance. I've lived in those shoes. So I think it's always being a learner, grower, I think is important, in growing your business. And being a part of leadership too.
For our agents and for our listeners out there who hear the words qualifying broker and picture mountains of paperwork and professionally stern emails,
Right.
What do you do all day as the qualifying broker?
Well, what I do probably is not what every qualifying broker does, because it really would depend on if you're with a small independent brokerage or with a larger broker. It just depends on what your duties might be. But me as qualifying broker, I like to be out with my agents. We have over 1,250 agents within our firm. And so when I can be in an office face to face with an agent, a manager, and our staff, to me, that's a good day. I like being in our agents' lives and seeing what they're going through. And one was building marketing bags that they were going to take to a local meeting yesterday in our in-town office. And then the day before, I was in Peachtree City, just had a roundtable discussion with the agents talking about the market and listing of properties and how the market's going. So to me, as qualifying broker, I like to be open communication. I like to be face-to-face with agents. I like to understand what their challenges are, because that could help us in how we shape our compliance. Sometimes that's a bad word, but it just is keeping you within the guardrails and protecting your license. So anything I can do to protect the license of our agents, I want to know about it.
What would surprise agents most about how you spend your time?
Probably that like you said, it's not all rules, regulations, real estate law, anything like that. It's more about just staying and having policy available. I mean, policy can be a bad word as well, but policy just keeps our agents safe and safe with their licensing. And there's typically a policy in place for a reason. To make sure the license is taken care of. But all I want to do is not restrict in any way our agents. I want to support them, but keep them in a guardrail that they're protected, that their license is protected, because it's their livelihood. And so that's important to me.
What's a qualifying broker task no one ever talks about?
Probably the task I hate that nobody talks about is it's kind of a love-hate. It's the legal responsibilities of a qualifying broker, because essentially my license is responsible for all 1,250 agents and everything that they do. So that comes with a little bit of, uneasiness, but yet the legal part, when there's a legal issue that comes on, and I think it's important for us to have good partners, whether it's an attorney, whether it's internal counsel, whether it's internal leadership, or your managers, or someone that you could really bounce ideas off of, because I think looking at it from a legal mind with a group of people, you could potentially come with different perspectives, right? And then just protect the agent. So legal is probably the most headache, but I think it's probably the most rewarding once you get through it and make that connection. So
here's a question that I probably should have asked you first. Why does a company need a qualifying broker?
Well, it's a state requirement, I guess. The qualifying broker essentially for the state of Georgia is that broker responsible. So if there's ever an issue with any licensee, any associate broker within the firm, they have to have one particular person that they reach out to. Just imagine me as like the liaison for the Georgia Real Estate Commission, and things that happen there. They will certainly notify me, and then I can either get with our managers or our agents to say, this came across my desk, I'd like to talk to you about it. It's something that we can resolve and get moving forward. So, state-wise, it's that one person that's designated.
If you had to explain the real responsibility of the qualifying broker, which in many ways you just did, to a brand new agent in one sentence, what would you say?
The qualifying broker is there to support you. And whether it's support in professionalism, ethical, legal, anything that we provide or that the qualifying broker should provide should be something that you are, it's the culture that you want to be in, right? And a part of a program that you want to be a part of to make your real estate career be successful. I mean, aligning with somebody that meets your same goals and standards and culture is important, and staying within that line. So the one sentence of a qualifying broker would be to support, qualifying brokers there to support its agents succeed in the real estate business.
So I guess you spend a lot of time on the phone, right? If you as the qualifying broker are responsible for all of the actions of every agent in your company, then I'm guessing you get a lot of phone calls from those brokers who are also responsible for the actions of their agents when the least little thing comes up, right?
That's right. So talking with, I will say, brokers outside of my company is something that I do as well, because sometimes when you're a broker, a qualifying broker, you know the right answer, but you're like, let me just validate what I'm thinking here. So you might call a friend in the industry to say, hey, what this scenario, what do you think? So I bounce a lot of ideas off other brokers in the industry, but then talking with my managers, we have 19 different managing brokers, and they manage individual offices. So talking with them on a regular basis, yes, all the time. I'm probably not in the car that I don't make 5 to 12 phone calls between appointments. Yeah.
Let's add a little levity here, listeners. Todd, what's the funnest part of your job?
I probably referenced this before, but to me, it's celebrating the agents. It's being face-to-face with the agents. I like to see agents succeed. I like to see their excitement for the business, whether it's that very first listing, it's a new social post, it's winning their Phoenix Award for the first time. You know, those things, when you've been in the business a long time, a lot of times you take that for granted. Like, this is their first top producer's celebration. That's a big deal for some new agents. And I say, be there, be in the moment, absorb that moment, because you only get it once, right? But I think we as more experienced in the business should continue to celebrate the industry in that way. So I like being face-to-face and celebrating with our agent base.
It's not just our agents making connections with their clients. It's creating a culture where agents know that they matter,
right,
as well. And as the world changes, we become more siloed and more hermetized by not being in the offices as much as we used to be. Do you think that part of real estate and your job matters more now than it did before?
I think we have to work a little harder than we did before, because when I got into real estate, we all had an office, we all had a desk that all had a plaque and it all had a photo on it, right? And maybe a plant or a lamp or whatever. And now agents work differently. They're more mobile. Everything, I don't have my phone in front of me, but everything is in the palm of your hand. Like, you could write a contract, you could submit an offer, you could make a call, you could schedule a showing, all within your hands, and you couldn't do that before. So in some respect, I think agents have siloed themselves into that face-to-face with technology instead of getting face-to-face like you and I are today. A great example. Back in the day, we would print 6 copies of a contract, and we would go hand deliver it to the other company, meet the agent, shake their hand, and present our offer. Who does that today? I mean, I think that would be something that, if I could see bring it back, let's bring something like that back. So I would say, get out of your house, get dressed for I was going to say for church, but get dressed for business every day, and show up and be there and be face-to-face with people. That's the only way you're going to make it in the business.
Well, you've heard it here on the Real Estate Rundown. Todd Tucker says, let's go old school and bring back being face-to-face with people on a regular basis, whether it's our clients or the agents that we work with or being with our communities.
That's right. Because one of the biggest things that occurs and obstacles that really, when problems come to me, it's really, I can always bring it down to communication. And it was either not explained correctly, or the potential client or client had a different thought of how it's supposed to go down, or the agent and the consumer did not communicate correctly. And it always comes down to they want to be heard and listened and communicate with your clients. And I think it's important to ask them, how would you like to be communicated? Is it a text? Is it a phone call? Is it a weekly meeting? Whatever it is and whatever your expectation is, to me, I think set it up front, because if I could say anything, communication is key.
Well, the National Association of Realtors says that the number one complaint that the consumer has about their agent is lack of communication.
That's right.
So here's an opportunity for us to rise up, to make being extraordinary our new normal, and maybe being just a little bit more communicative as a way of being extraordinary and providing that kind of unreasonable, exceptional service to the people that we serve. What's been the most rewarding moment for you as being the qualifying broker?
I think I would say most rewarding is the relationships that I built, whether they're in the industry or with my own company, the partnership that I have with our other leadership that we've been partners together for 20 plus years. I think it's just, that's probably the most rewarding thing is the relationships that I have, not only within our company and in Atlanta, but across the state and quite frankly, across the nation, just from other folks in the real estate industry.
When you became the qualifying broker, what did you not expect to be doing that now takes up a surprising amount of time and your energy?
I probably underestimated the amount of complaints or legal issues. Okay, not that I get a complaint every day, right? But a lot of them stem from that lack of communication that I just said about. Mm-hmm. But I just there's so many legal check marks that I have to do. So when a complaint comes in, certainly I'll reach out to the client and talk to them, and then just take care of it, settle it, move forward with it. So I probably thought it was all fun all the time, but then the legal and compliance comes into it, which I think it's important, but I just didn't really realize how much it is. Yeah.
A question, only because I'm truly curious, that I just thought of. How do you spend a lot of time on the phone, you spend a lot of time with people. How do you manage the meetings, the phone calls, and the being with the people?
So you have to be extremely organized. So I always say, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. So if there's calls that I have to make, it's on the calendar. If it's a personal thing, it's on the calendar. A dentist appointment is on the calendar. Or if it's meeting with an agent or doing a presentation, like tonight I'm going to present a Phoenix Award. So it's on the calendar. There's, and so I've scheduled for it. So scheduling is huge. Being organized is huge. Now, you might look at my office and think it's not organized, but I know what's in each stack. I know what's there, and it relates to certain things. So I just think you have to be there, be intentional, but be organized in a way that your mind works the best.
Thank you. A few formidable questions,
Sure.
if you don't mind. What's the most challenging part of being the qualifying broker?
There's not enough time in every day to do, what I want to do. Of course, like I said, I want to be with the agents as much as I can, but sometimes you're pulled into meetings here, there, and the other. So those are, I guess that's what comes with the job, right? Mm-hmm. And be a part of it.
Are there any decisions or issues that keep you up at night?
That's an interesting question, because not really. I think everything has a solution. Every complex issue has a solution no matter what. And I think, agents might stress if it's their first, issue, or, someone reached out to them that was not, what they were thinking. So they will be stressed about it, but I'm more of the calm, collected, and I don't think there's anything worth losing sleep over, because there's far worse things in this world that you can lose sleep over, like loss of a family member or something, or death or cancer or something. So I wouldn't worry about things in real estate. I think everything has a solution. You just need the right partner to find the solution.
Could you share a moment, no names, of course, for protection, where governance or compliance needed for you to make a hard call, and what that felt like emotionally for you?
So, specific or not specific example. I don't know that there's a specific hard call that I have to make, only because I separate my emotion from a business decision in a lot of that. So when I have an issue or a specific issue, I specifically look at the four corners of the contract and what does it mean. Now, the way it was communicated could be something totally different, right, than what's actually on paper. So I think it's my job to draw everybody back to what is the agreement, what are the problems, and let's come up with this solution. So making the hard call to me is not really hard to do, if you can say it that way, because I know what I have in front of me is the agreement. So let's all get back on the same page. And sometimes I just have to draw people back into that. Yeah.
Do you find in the work that you do and the problems that you have to solve that having that perspective or being able to have a different perspective is beneficial to the brokers and the agents?
Yeah, I think so. And, there could be common issues that arise in a brokerage or any brokerage, and how you handle it may have a common theme. It may come up differently in different parts of, the city, but it's really what's the common theme and how do you answer the question to get the problem down together. Yeah.
If someone is considering starting their own firm, or they're going to be stepping into the role of being the qualifying broker, what are the top 5 things that you would think they should be prepared for mentally, emotionally, operationally?
Well, have a business mind. You can be the qualifying broker, but not the president or CEO or leader of the organization. I think it almost works better if you're not this one in the same. But it would be a different answer for a smaller brokerage than a larger brokerage or medium-sized brokerage. But be prepared to understand license law. It's not a waiver. It's not, you have to stay within the law. I think that's very important. Be prepared to have written policy for your firm. I think that's what protects you from potential liabilities with the commission, is just having those policy in place. I think being available and ready to train your agents with proper education, understanding of the forms themselves, the reason for the forms, and then there's other things that would come into it, like marketing your business, technology, all of those pieces. You can be the expert or hire the expert, to be on your team and to be a part of it. Compliance and legal, you can't waver on that. So that's kind of where you start and then build it from there.
What do people underestimate most about the qualifying broker role?
Underestimate? I don't know. I have an answer for that question. There's a lot of liability that comes with it, but yet it stems on the company and the policy that you have in place. So as long as you have all of that good base, then it's not as daunting, as it might seem.
Awesome. I've got a few rarefied air questions for you as we draw to a close with our time together. From your perspective, what's the difference between a top producer and a great professional? Can they be the same? Can they be different?
Well, they can be. I think I'm going to draw it back to relationships. You can have top producers in the industry that are huge in markets that we serve, and they have expansive relationships, expansive networks. Or a new agent, I think, could start their business with the relationships and being involved. I would say not only if you're just getting started, get involved in ARA and the committees that you have here, right? But look in your local community too. Is there an HOA, or is there a zoning or council or board or something in the area, a Rotary Club? Start building those relationships, because it's going to help you in your business. So they could be one and the same.
Well, you said building relationships, because we always want to create a business that is focused on relationships, not transactions. But from your vantage point as the qualifying broker, you have the ability to see patterns and possibilities that others might not. In addition to building relationships, what tips do you have for agents in today's market?
To get started or to grow their business in today's market? Start with the base, the relationships, and start building that. I would put together of what's your niche or what's your specialty going to be. I don't think you have to be all things to all people. I think you find a niche and really hone in on it and go with it. There's enough real estate in the market for everybody, to have a piece of it. So just really hone in on that and perfect your skills. Newer agents, I would say, know the contract. It's changed twice a year. However, you should almost sleep with it under your pillow, because you need, that's the one document that you control the transaction with, and how it's presented, how it's perceived, and how it's written. If it's sloppy written, open liability. If it's not and nailed down correctly, it's important. So just understanding the business, understanding the rules, laws per se, understanding the agreements, I think, are most important.
What is one thing that agents could focus on more in today's industry?
Focus on more. Get out from behind your technology and go face to face with a consumer. I remember put 5 business cards in your pocket and get rid of 5 cards today before you go back home. And if you buy gas, go in and pay for it and give them a business card. If you go into a restaurant, give them a business card. So I would say old school is new school again, if you will, and just kind of being involved and being connected, I think, is most important.
What's one thing that you think our agents should stop doing?
Staying home and not getting dressed for the job. Dress for the job you want, and dress to be the person you want to be. Show up, be visible, give back to your community. I think I learned early on there's a poem or quote about a hitchhiker who basically rides the coattails of everybody else. So everybody in the industry who are leaders and advocating, and through RPAC and all the different things that you do, and then you have the other agents who are just riding the coattails per se. They're just basically doing deals, but not giving back to the industry. So my thing would be stop not giving it back to the community or the industry, but actually get out and give back.
One thing that agents could take more seriously?
Their paperwork. That's a funny, but maybe the contract is a serious contract, right? The consumer is probably purchasing the most expensive or most life-daunting investment of their life. So it's not just another fill-in-the-blank form. And so what I want to tell agents, whether you're new or experienced, I think it's important to explain the process. Now more than ever, explain your value as an agent and what you bring to the table, and explain the form. Don't just say, we're going to fill in these 8 blanks, put a few steps and send it off. What's the whole meaning behind the form, and how does it take us from A to B, and getting you into a property?
Lightning round for you.
Okay.
What's the hardest email you've ever had to write?
Had or will have to. I think one of the hardest emails that I would have to write would be if there was a significant loss in our company. You get in this business and they all become your family. I feel like now I've been with the company longer than I haven't been, if that makes sense. So if I had to send out a message to our team about a loss, I think that would be a hard email to write.
Most misunderstood part of your role?
Misunderstood. That I'm a real person. That it's not all rules and laws, and that's not what a QB is to do. They're obviously to keep you within the guardrails and keep between the ditches, right, and on the road. But the QB is there to help you. So they're not there to put rules down to restrict what you do. They're here to help you bloom, like in your own niche.
Awesome. Caffeinated, job requirement, coffee or carbonation?
It's not a job requirement, but I have 1 cup of coffee every morning. And actually it's before I get up. I don't look at my phone for at least an hour, and I'll have the cup of coffee and do that. So that's every day, but I don't drink soda, so not for me.
Yeah. What's one myth about being that qualifying broker that you would like to retire forever?
It's not the big office in the corner with a lot of law books on the desk. Again, my office is my car, really. I mean, I have an office, of course, but I like being in between or in with my agents and with my managers. So if I'm in an office other than my, the home office, what we call, I would be, happier that day just being out there with agents.
If you could put one sentence on a billboard for agents to see every day, what would it say?
Be you. 2 words. I think everybody is unique, and you bring your unique talents to the table. I think that's what's most important. Like in a boardroom, everybody might not have the same opinion, and I think that's exciting to see the differing of opinions and the thoughts that come in from different perspectives. So I would say be you, be original, be authentic, be yourself. You're going to connect with your clients the way you need to connect, and there's plenty of business for everybody to connect in their own way. So
awesome. As we end our time together, I just want to let you know this has been both a pleasure and a privilege. Last question for you today. What gives you hope about the future of our profession right now?
A recent study at NAR says that the consumer still wants the realtor to be a part of their transaction. I think that's hopeful for us. I think we have to do a better job at communicating our value. That's always been a challenge, right? But I think there's a lot of business to be had. People are still going to buy and sell properties and real estate all day long. I think it's important for us to be hopeful about the future with interest rates, with loan product, with types of property. Appreciation is always happening. So I think it's a fun industry to get into, and I would certainly recommend anybody, give it a try. Why not?
Awesome. Todd Tucker, thank you. This has been extraordinary. Your wisdom, experience, guidance, it's unparalleled. And we appreciate you taking time out of your busy qualifying broker day to spend some time with us. That's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
You, all of our listeners and our watchers. And if you found this interesting and informative, like, subscribe, or share the podcast with a friend. We'll see you next time right here on the ARA Real Estate Rundown. So go out, be extraordinary, be amazingly awesome, and create the success of your dreams. Thank you, everyone.